Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with a second video on the Croatia Grand Chess Tour event. As you can see, the 2019 Grand Chess Tour consists of 7 events. 5 of them are Rapid and Blitz and 2 of them are Classical. The first Classical event is played in June and July in Zagreb in Croatia. In my first video on this event I showed you the first round game between Anish and Magnus Carlsen, where Carlsen crushed his opponent with the black pieces in 23 moves. It's video number 506 on my channel. These are the 12 participants of the Zagreb tournament: Carlsen, Nakamura, Vachier-Lagrave, Caruana, Ding Liren, Nepomniachtchi, Aronian, So, Mamedyarov, Karyakin, Giri and Anand, a star-studded field. In the first 3 rounds we saw Jan Nepomniachtchi, number 6 there on the list, run away with things. He won his first 3 games and was a point ahead of his pursuers. Then we saw 6 draws in the 4th round and 5 draws in the 5th round. Only Ding Liren was able to win, and then round 6 came on the 1st of July 2019. And the runaway leader Jan Nepomniachtchi had the black pieces against Ding Liren, who had won the day before against Anish Giri. As you can see here in the head-to-head, Nepomniachtchi has won 1 game. Ding Liren has not been able to beat Nepomniachtchi yet in a classical game, and they played 8 draws. Here we see both players at the start of the game in the opening. Ding on the left, Nepomniachtchi on the right. Let's have a look at their game, which was quite a spectacle. Ding opened with c4, which he frequently plays on the first move. e5, we have an English opening on the board, also known as the reverse Sicilian, in this case because black answered e5. g3, knight f6, the bishop was fianchettoed. Nepomniachtchi hit in the center, c takes, knight takes, the knight was developed, and be careful here, don't think you're going to kick that knight straight away with e4, because then you lose that pawn. Do you see how? Yes indeed. With a nice check, a double attack in the opening. Knight c6, and that pawn disappears off the board. White has already got an extra pawn. Nepomniachtchi was not going to fall for that. He played knight c6, developed a piece. Ding castled, and here knight b6 is the main move, which Ding had expected, he said after the game. But Nepomniachtchi played another popular move, bishop e7, just developing that bishop. d4, and here e takes d4 is a move, but it's better to play e4 according to the current state of theory, as explained by Grandmaster Ramirez in the live broadcast. The knight is attacked, went to e5, and knight takes e5 is not a great move, because then d takes e5 and black will not be able to fortify the pawn on e4 with f7, f5, which he would like to do, because then white can take en passant. That's why taking the knight is not good. f5 was played straight away to protect that pawn on e4. Knight takes c6, b takes c6, queen went to c2, attacking the c6 pawn, and here queen d6 or queen d7 are the main moves, and they were expected by Ding, as he explained after the game. But knight b4 was played instead by Nepomniachtchi. Not a new move, but Ding had not expected it. He played queen a4. If we look at his position, black has a shattered queenside structure, but he has good development of his pieces, and he's shutting out white's bishop on g2. That bishop doesn't have a lot of scope. Both players are playing according to their styles. Ding positionally very sound, and Nepomniachtchi always looking for the initiative. Bishop d7, and here Ding showed a crazy variation in the post-mortem. He showed if white plays knight c3 here, then c5, attacking the queen with the bishop, queen back to d1, then c takes, queen takes, knight c2, that is a nice fork, you could say, and it is, but there is queen takes g7, hitting the rook, bishop f6, protecting the rook on h8, then queen h6, and black can take on a1, but white is better here. He has a lot of play against black's king, with moves like queen h5 check. The bishop can come to h6. Ding had seen all this after 12 knight c3, and he said that white was better here, and the engine agrees. But it's a crazy line, and Ding decided to go for something more quiet. He played a3 instead of knight c3. Kicking the knights. Knight back to d5. Now knight c3. Bishop to d6. And f3. As Ding explained in the post-mortem, the only idea in this position is f3. Liberating the bishop and also asking the black king if he really wants to stay in the center for much longer, as white will open the position. Nepomniachtchi took on f3, bishop takes, and knight b6. Nepomniachtchi's second grandmaster, Vladimir Potkin, was interviewed at this stage. And he said, the position looks dangerous, but I believe in Jan, and believe he can create some complications. Right now he has to solve the problem of his king. And he could not have solved that straight away. If instead of knight b6, black would have castled, that is not possible, because of knight takes d5, c takes, it is attacking the queen, but white has an in-between move. Bishop takes d5 is check, and it wins a pawn. King has to step aside, and queen c2, for example, and white has won a pawn. So in this position, castling is not possible, and as mentioned, Nepomniachtchi played knight b6, attacking the queen. Queen dropped back, and is preventing black from castling, covering the g8 square. Queen f6, attacking the d4 pawn. Bishop e3, defending that pawn, and queen g6, eyeing up tactical play against the g3 pawn, and against white's king. Queen f7 is a move that Grandmaster Potkin was hoping for. He was hoping for a trade of queens, he said in his interview. Then queen takes, king takes, and g4 with a small edge for white. But as mentioned, Nepomniachtchi did not try and swap queens. He went for queen g6 and is going to attack white's king. Bishop f2, very nice move, protecting g3 one more time and going out of the way of the e-pawn. Nice move, bishop f2. And if you say A, you have to say B. There goes the h-pawn, in typical Nepomniachtchi style. Black's king is in the middle, but Nepomniachtchi decides to attack a very safe-looking white king anyway. It's very risky. e4, a very good example of the rule of thumb that an expansion on the flank has to be answered by action in the center. h5 was played by black on the flank, and white answers in the center with e4. h4, Nepomniachtchi keeps going for it. White has to be careful, his queen is far away from the action. And there's another saying, when the white queen is away, the black pieces play. It looks a bit dangerous for white. But now it's Ding's turn, he took on f5, opening lines against black's king. It's stronger than pushing with e5, which also looks inviting, as it shuts out both black's bishops. But he takes f5 was played, the strongest move in the position. You can't take with the bishop, because then there is bishop takes c6 check. With a fork, this is good for white. Nepomniachtchi took with the queen on f5. Rook a e1 check. King had to step aside. And knight e4, very nice move. Nepomniachtchi has taken too many liberties, even though at first sight black's attack looks very powerful as well, with 5 pieces attacking white's king. But when you take a closer look, then you see that white's pieces are nicely centralized and nicely coordinated. That the king's position is very healthy, the white king has a lot of defenders around him, and a healthy position is like a healthy body, it can take a lot of beating. Black is playing without the rook on a8 and his king is unsafe. His attack also is not powerful enough. White is much better here. Nepomniachtchi thought for a while and played the queen back to g6, pinning the g-pawn. That queen was on g6 already 5 moves ago, and if we compare that position with this one, then we see that only white has made progress in the meantime. it's an indication that black is in trouble. Ding took on d6, c takes, and played d5, threatening bishop takes b6, also threatening d takes c6. Another option that was looked at in the live broadcast is bishop g2, a very nice and instructive move, threatening g takes h4 because that pawn is no longer pinned, and then move the bishop to g3. White's king is then very solid, very safe, and the bishops are combining defense with attack. But as mentioned, Ding played d5, also a very strong move. c5 to deal with White's threats, and a4, and this is really a move from a top grandmaster. Giving up a pawn, but it all works beautifully for White, as we'll see. What a move, a4. Not easy to find. It's a pawn sacrifice, and Nepomniachtchi took it, attacking the queen, and the queen just tapped to a3. What has White accomplished with this, you may ask? Well, now there's a threat in the position. Rook e6 is a big threat. The bishop is no longer on d7, covering that square. We'll be attacking the queen. Black will take on e6, and the black king is toast. Black's position will collapse. So rook e8 was played by Nepomniachtchi, and now we see the other point of that pawn sacrifice. b4. What a move. What a concept, a4 and b4. The b pawn is going to wreck black's structure. And as Grandmaster Ashley put it, we smell king. We smell that we can checkmate the king. It's not just the vulnerable position of black's king, it's also his piece coordination. Rook e8, the bishop and the knight, they are not really doing much to protect black's king. And also very important here is that black has no threats to distract White in his actions. His attack on the king's side is over. Rook c8 was played. Ding said he had missed this move, but is not saving black. Ding took on c5. A pair of rooks was traded, and h takes g3. Ding took back with the pawn. D takes c5, and now another lovely move from Ding Liren. He played king g2 here. Another move that has a signature of a top grandmaster, stopping any possible black counterplay before going in for the kill himself. Also rook h1 is now an option, swinging over into black's position, as we'll see in the game. The pawn on g3 is now protected, which means that bishop f2 can be utilized. That pawn is no longer hanging. Beautiful move, king g2. Grandmaster Sarawan in the live broadcast gave this move a double exclamation mark. He really liked that move. Queen c2 from Nepomniachtchi. Queen e3, and now we have a mate threat. Queen e7 would be checkmate. So rook c7 from Nepomniachtchi, and queen e6. Don't play queen e8 checkmate, because it is not checkmate. The bishop is covering that square. So queen e6 was played. Now queen g8 is a big threat. That will lead to checkmate. Rook d7 from Nepomniachtchi, and d6. Now we are threatening checkmate on e8. King c8, and there goes the rook to the king's side. Rook h1, black resigned. There's nothing reasonable to think of to stop checkmate with rook h8. What a game from Ding Liren. Nepomniachtchi's attack on the king's side would have been successful against you and me, but Ding showed that the attack had no teeth and that in fact it was White who was attacking. The runaway leader from the first few rounds has been pegged back, and because Carlsen, Aronian, So and Caruana also won, it is now crowded at the top after 6 rounds, as Magnus Carlsen put it in his interview. Nepomniachtchi, So and Carlsen are on 4 points out of 6. Caruana, Ding, Aronian, half a point behind. A point behind them, Karyakin, Vachier-Lagrave and Anand. And shared last place, Mamedyarov, Nakamura and Giri. A picture from the little chat that Ding and Nepomniachtchi had after the game. Tuesday the 2nd of July was a rest day, and play resumed with the 7th round on Wednesday the 3rd of July. There will be no more rest days. The tournament will finish on Sunday the 7th of July, with possibly a tie break on Monday the 8th of July. I'm planning to do one more video on this event, unless something spectacular will happen. And almost as important as the 2019 Grand Chess Tour is our game. Rick from Chess to Impress, which is myself against the Chess to Impress viewers. This is the position. I've played d2, d4, and you can still vote by putting your first move in the comments of this video. The move that's voted for most will be played, and I will announce that move and my second move in Sunday's Viewers Game Series video. I will also raffle a book, made available by my sponsor, the Decisive. This is the book The Mating Game, written by international master Jovanka Huska and James Essinger. And at the end of our game, I will raffle that book amongst the people who have participated in the game. Hope we can have a game as exciting as Ding against Nepomniachtchi. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you like the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.